And so my mind was blown. It felt like I was in Alice in Wonderland, and it felt like I opened the door and I was walking around and just experiencing colors, animals, the ocean. I feel like I'm very grateful that my first time was on the beach. I have a very deep spiritual connection with the ocean. For me, she's like a mother, and I don't know, I'm gonna cry. I think just like remembering, like it was beautiful, and encountering the ocean, which had like eyes. Like I met her for the first time again.
Welcome everybody to the Violeta Sosa podcast. And I have the honor and privilege, man. It's been a while, months and months and months of trying to convince her to get on this podcast.
I know.
And didn't rush her, didn't force you. Just came naturally. For those who don't know, this is my wonderful wife of almost 8 years. And she's been so successful. She is a 2-time saleswoman of the year.
I know.
6 figures.
I was
from 0 to 6 figures.
Yeah.
Boss lady.
Thank you.
Leader of women and men. She's just a boss. I'm so excited that we're going to be doing this.
I'm excited
Welcome
too.
Violet to the show.
Thank you, baby. What I was trying to say, and I was interrupting you, was he won't kiss me with lip gloss on. But we could do like a cheek kiss.
I won't kiss her with the lip. That's me being true to me. I'm not going to kiss you with that lip gloss.
And I put a lot of it.
Krispy Kreme lips.
But thank you for having me on your podcast. I know I was very reluctant these past months, mainly because I wanted to be true to myself and make sure that I showed up as me. And I feel like I've done a lot of self-reflection to where I feel more comfortable being in front of the camera and recording.
Self-reflection's huge. People think that it's just thoughts here and there, but you had such an incredible start to 2024. What happened there?
I did, absolutely. So I was partying for New Year's, and then I didn't sleep well, and then I went to go play soccer, and I tore my ACL in the first 30 seconds of the game. Oh, I won't forget. When I was leaving the house, you said, Violet, be careful, be safe. And I said, don't tell me what to do. Yeah, 30 seconds in. And I feel like it was really sad. I was very sad because I had a lot of goals for myself. Entering the year, I was hot. I was number 3 on the board. I had a tough November, because we were having relationship issues. And so I was going to therapy twice a month. And then in December, I was just really grinding it out. So I was like number 6 or 7 in the store. And then I went up to number 3. I sold like 5 cars that week. So I wanted 2024 to be about making $200,000. That was my goal. And then I was hitting all my fitness goals. I was neglecting my emotional and spiritual goals. So I feel like if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because I have been redirected in a completely new path of life. So yes, I'm a boss lady, but I also think it comes with the listening to my emotions and taking care of my physical health. And I'm really good at being in my masculine. I'm working on being in my feminine, which is being, which is acceptance, which is going with the flow. But yeah, I love being in control. I love manifesting my desires, love doing. But that's been me in the beginning of the year. So soon, I don't know. I think that I actually don't believe in New Year's resolutions or New Year's. I think that at any time you can make a decision, hey, I want to change something about myself, and you can re-identify yourself into whatever you want to be. And physiologically, you can do that. It's called neuroplasticity, where your brain can create new brain cells. So I don't believe in New Year's. It just so happened to be in the beginning of the year. But I'm definitely re-identifying myself by letting 2 things coexist at once, which is my masculine and my feminine. But I am masculine dominant, and I own that and I accept that.
when I tell you she's more man than most men,
Stop.
but of course more woman than most women. She's got the masculine and feminine down
Thank
like
you.
no other. But when I tell you she was in December somewhere in the bottom, and
Yeah.
everybody was ragging on her, saying like, "Oh, what happened to Violet?"
Yeah.
Ultimately kicking everybody's ass, like coming from nowhere from behind and dominating the month. And so with her championship belt, January 1st, she did get humbled. And
I did.
that's something that everybody has their own journey with rest.
For sure.
Everybody has their own journey with how you repair, how you nourish the body, how you balance things out. And I've been your number one fan for
Thank you.
my whole life that we've been together.
Oh, I was
And
like, you didn't know me.
I didn't know her. I didn't know you.
Just
I was
kidding.
watching from afar.
Creeper.
But I've been your number one fan.
Thank you, baby.
When I first met her, she was training for a triathlon,
Yeah.
interning with one of El Paso's top criminal defense lawyers, and taking a break from taking
right.
6-7 classes at a time at school and Dean's List, and just I married up. For all the guys out there, it's a key. Marry up. And so
And for women, marry a growth-minded man.
that's huge. Women marry a growth-minded man. 'cause
Yeah.
most men ain't shit.
Ooh.
Most men in their 20s are still in their teenage years.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a 50-year-old woman dating a 25-year-old. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
25 years old.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you're like your age now, I think.
I got that youth. You know, I'm a young stallion.
I'm a cougar. I'm just kidding. Really not. I'm just kidding. Emotionally, yeah.
And that's a huge subject. So let's talk about what happened. You know, you're a boss ass woman. You're a boss ass woman.
Oh my god, I'm cackling in this.
And then, man, you popped that knee and
I did. So I feel like, okay, so your podcast, I think we're trying to figure out what it's all about, right? So it's about bettering others through conversation or, right?
yes.
Okay, so for me, I'm working on my personal brand and what I stand for and what y'all will know me. Like words that I feel like are my personal brand are resilience, discipline, humility, family, community, love. I think those are like the really like the pillars of who I feel like I am because those are things that I've mastered. I would say that, or I'm mastering. I think that personal development is an everyday thing. Oh, and psychedelics. So I popped my knee and I feel like it was heartbreaking. I was in distraught. I went through the 5 stages of grief and I'm consistently going through 5 stages of grief throughout this process. I wanted to bring up Tom Brady because besides my husband, he's one of the people that I look up to. And mainly because he was an underdog. And I feel like in my come up, I feel like I was an underdog in a lot of ways. And I call myself a comeback queen because I can go through something and I can bounce back. But the in-between is really challenging for me to document. But I'm able to have resilience and overcome and move forward. And be okay when I'm not moving forward. So one of my favorite metaphysical philosophers named Gloria Anzaldúa, she coins this process where you're disembodied as Koyosaki imperative. So basically what that is whenever you're going through a crisis, like you feel like you're completely torn apart. And then the process is putting yourself back together. So I definitely felt like I was torn apart because I had a lot of plans for myself, and then physically I wasn't able to operate on the same level that I like to operate on. But why do you bring that up? Is that just me talking about me?
Why do I bring up
The ACL again. Is
Well,
that
that's the
like my
beginning.
reality?
It's the beginning of the journey. It's the beginning of
Of a new journey. Yeah, I feel like whenever something keeps persisting like a lesson, it's because you haven't learned the lesson. So I hadn't learned the lesson of balance, which I also teeter-totter between these two concepts of greatness and being good. So to me, it's like, what's the cost of greatness? Is my health. Am I going to give up my health for the cost of greatness? Or am I just going to be good and live a balanced life? Because I don't think there's balance in greatness. So I was definitely imbalanced because I didn't know how to rest. I do now.
That's an interesting concept about greatness.
It is.
Madness and genius. And I feel like if whatever you're trying to be great at is done in alignment and you give yourself enough years, you will be great. Now, when it comes to sports or when it comes to doing it as young as possible, yeah, you may have to sacrifice a lot of things. I remember when I was in my early 20s and I sacrificed everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things too that determine your success is what are you willing to give up?
I agree.
And your ability to accept change. Some people want a lot of things, but they are never going to invest in themselves or never pay anybody that's further along to teach them, which is called mentorship. But
I think it's challenging for people to even look at themselves from a third person perspective, which means like a God's eye point of view. Like completely remove yourself from the situation and then look at yourself. A third person is like, Violeta is working 16 hours a day. I think people's consciousness, it's challenging to get there because of trauma, because of conditioning. So I think that whole process, like seeking mentorship, is challenging. So how did you wake up in a sense to where you can know that you needed mentorship? Because I think that's a big deal. Also humbling yourself enough to ask for help, because I think that it's challenging to ask for help.
love that question. And then I'll share a story on that. So for men, or for me specifically, I had a lawn mowing business. I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And for a lot of men out there that didn't get the silver spoon, you have to bust your ass for things that you want early on. If I want those shoes, gotta go make some money, which is such a huge blessing because I started making a ton of money as a little kid.
How old are you?
I was 15, making a few $1,000s a week.
Oh, wow.
I made $1,000 in a day. This is like 10, 15 years ago. All my friends wanted to work with me, and some people mow lawns, but I made it a enterprise.
Oh.
And I was going door to door in the hot summer, and I just had the grind in me. Because there's this side tangent. I had just amount of trauma as well, chip on my shoulder, that can endure that pain, can endure that putting yourself out there and going the extra mile. So what that did is it already broke me out of the paradigm of just get a job.
Oh,
It broke me out of the standard deferred life plan, the autopilot that most people follow, which is get a job at a retail store and make minimum wage or something. Once the economy hit and our world got shaken, you know, this is
2008? Okay.
09, we moved back to El Paso and I had to restart. Imagine restarting when you're 17 years old. Some people restart when they're 30, 40, or 50.
True.
I'm restarting young. And I'm, again, already kind of out of the matrix financially. Like, I'm better than most of these jobs around me. Like, I'm looking for a business. I need another business. And so I met somebody named Victor, still friends with him today.
Oh, yeah.
And I met him at the mall. He was recruiting people to sell these bracelets, those balance bracelets. And he was reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. He gave it to me. He hired me, gave it to me, gave me a job. I was selling, and he mentored me. He was a young dude who had these kiosk business and was making money. He had a really nice car. And so I was sold, like, I'm going to listen to this guy. And that book changed everything for me. Rich Dad Poor Dad really unplugs you from the 9-to-5 grind and starts helping you think like an entrepreneur. And that led me to your association in Amway. It led me to Gabe and Iris.
So your hunger for more and your prior business helped you seek mentorship, or you knew you needed mentorship, or Victor told you needed mentorship?
Victor did. So it was that book, because I had never
got
read
it.
books
Okay.
before.
Okay. I hear you.
So finding an entrepreneur pretty young who gave me a book and expanded my mind. Then I got into network marketing, and the rest is history there. So that's for another time.
Yeah. So why is mentorship so important?
I call it standing on the shoulders of giants. There's people who think I'm going to be a self-made man, or I did this all on my own, but
Yeah, right. I agree with that too. I also think mentorship is important because it cuts the time in half. Your success, you can learn from others' failures, and it'll make your success go 2 times faster. Like for me, in my rise in sales, being a sales professional, I got a lot of mentorship. I sought out Andy Elliott, and that really sped up my learning curve because
you were
I was
a
obsessed.
student,
Yeah, a
yes.
student. I feel like that's something I pride myself in too, is that I'm open-minded. I'm growth-minded, and I accept that I don't know everything. I know enough and I know a lot, but I don't know everything. I never know everything. And I think that a lot of people, well, a fixed mindset is that you think you know everything. But I was wondering about mentorship. Why?
Let me ask you about what would you say to the women out there in sales, or specifically car sales? Give them the formula that you did to make 6 figures your first, and even more 6 figures your second year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 1, be a student. 2, shut the fuck up. When people are around that are better than you, ask the right, there is such a thing as stupid questions, and be quiet. Like, ask questions, but ask pertinent questions to the situation, and then be quiet. Because a lot of what I see is like people aren't curious, and then when they are curious, they like try to have a conversation, but no, you're learning, so you need to be quiet and listen. And I know this is, and I'm a feminist, an intersectional feminist, so I do believe you need to express yourself, but when you're learning and you're around people that know more than you need to listen. And it's be a student, watch Andy Elliott. I think he has the best sales courses, and he has free stuff on YouTube. I did all his free stuff. And then when I paid for the program, I was able to make higher 6 figures. So be coachable, watch all of Andy Elliott. There's a sales course by, what's his name? Grant Cardone. That's really good. That really helped. So I think be a student, and everything is online to where you can learn how to speak. You can learn how to write a pencil. You can learn how to talk to customers. And I think personal development is important. Resilience, saying what you said you're going to do. There's a lot to it, but I think to start, it's look up Andy Elliott, watch his How to Make 10K in a Month video, and go from there, and just keep learning and never think you know it all. Always be humble. Be assertive yet humble, because 2 things can exist at once. 2 emotions, 2 characteristics. And yeah, I think that's the start.
And you were very intentional with your time.
Right.
You were moving, you were listening to those training videos and audios. And when you were sitting and not in front of customers and not doing all the million things to do with car business, you were reading.
Yes, yeah.
Reading all the top books.
I'm an avid reader.
How important is reading?
To me, it's the most important thing in my quality of life. I'm an English major. I graduated in 2021 from Texas State, and I'm a minor in philosophy, so a big reader, writer. I think that reading physiologically changes the gray matter in your brain, and you literally walk in people's shoes, and your mind expands. Like, they did a study where they were monitoring the gray matter in your brain, and like the brightness of it increases as you read, and people are more empathetic. So I think that if you have trouble reading, just read 1 word. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I got that from you or Atomic Habits. Just read 1 word, and then you're inclined to read a sentence, and then start building the habit that way. What I also learned is that fortunately, when I was younger, my dad sat down with me. He put me on his lap and he helped me learn how to read. So get an accountability partner. Get somebody that is a reader and ask them, hey, can you help me keep me accountable? Because we don't live in a vacuum. We need help. I think that's my big theme too in tearing my ACL is asking for help. But ask for help and discipline yourself to read.
So in car business, you loved your dealership. You spent 2 years there. It was supposed to just be 6 months for those listening.
I forgot.
I told her, babe, find yourself a dealership to learn and burn because you're going to make mistakes and, you know, you want to go to a luxury store.
It's Cadillac is luxury. It's domestic. Here I am defending it.
Such a loyal.
I am.
So then what's going to be next for your career?
Oh, yes. So as I said earlier, I'm working on my personal brand and what I want to exemplify and portray myself as. I feel like I've really accepted who I am and I'm not shy anymore in front of the camera because I think I'm very personable in person and I love conversing and meeting new people, but I have been mastering getting in front of the camera, posting and showing people who I am. So I think now I'm working on my personal brand. I'm on the podcast with you and I want to create content to help women be more disciplined, resilient, kind to themselves, teach about psychedelics. I'm not a professional and I don't claim to be a professional. I just want to share my experience and the books that I've read. And I'm convincing. I've helped a lot of people in their trips. I want to do Airbnb and then do another sales job and just take it from there. Live life, love life. Well, we started in 2020, so 4 years ago, baby. And you were listening.
Only 4 years ago? That's it?
Dude, I know. It feels like a million lifetimes. That's what I said. I'm ready to get out of my 20s. I'm so tired. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm kidding. You can cut that out. I'm just being a silly girl. But we were in Hawaii. So this guy, here I am following his ass. But good times. I love it. So you read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And the premise of the book is that people don't want to be millionaires in the sense of how much money, but they want to have a lifestyle of what millionaires are living, which is time and experiences. So the whole book talks about how you can live in different countries and use relative income, basically saying like if you work online and you make $20 in Indonesia, that's like $500. So I read the book with you and then we decided to sell everything and we traveled to Indonesia. And then long story short, honestly, because you have that YouTube video, we end up back in Hawaii and then you listen to the podcast with Joe Rogan about psychedelics. And I had actually wanted to do plant medicine since my college years, but I never accessed it. And so when you brought it up, I was like, hey, yeah, like that's a no-brainer. But then we were kind of worried. So we asked Brenna, this girl who got us into spirituality. Yeah. She said, we called her. We said, oh, we want to do LSD, but what do you think about it? Or because we knew she did it. She goes, well, fear is false evidence appearing real. So she said, do it in a safe place. And then we did our research.
Because it's a scary thing.
It is.
For the people who are brand new and who are curious about it. Yeah, like you can read all these stories and hear all these friends tell you that, oh no, like you're going to lose your mind or what if you go into psychosis? And definitely consult your doctors. And this is a very personal decision, but we had both family members with mental illnesses. So
yeah, we were making sure that we were going to be okay. Which I think set and setting, meaning set is your mindset, where you're at consciously. Setting is where you're doing the psychedelic, like who's around you, do you feel safe? And then, yeah, most importantly, who you're around, do you feel safe? Well, I worked at Victoria's Secret, and that in itself is a funny story. I wasn't supposed to work there, but I ended up working at Victoria's Secret as a profit expert, and I met Lexi and that other girl.
That is such
And she had it. We were talking about psychedelics. She goes, oh, yeah, I actually have some. And I was like, oh, nice. And I'm timid when it came to those things. And I was the new girl. And so I wanted to do it with them, but they didn't invite me. They did it one weekend and they didn't invite me, and I was sad. But then the next weekend they said, hey, we're going to do it again next week. Do you want to join us? And I said, yeah. And these women hated men at the time, but I really advocated for Antonio to come. I said, hey, can you please let my husband come? And they said, okay. They were a little reluctant, but I guess me being me, headstrong about things, I said, he's going to come. So we... and they didn't tell me no. So then we went to Lexi's house, and then that's the first time, our first trip, 2020. What was it, like February 2020, something like that?
It was early. It was before COVID. So it might have
yes,
been like
January or December. It had to be January 2020.
At least.
Mm-hmm. But that's where we started.
So this house was the perfect first time house. It was Lexi's college house where you have like mushroom art on the wall and 3 cats, beautiful cats, and cockroaches.
Stop.
Hey, it was perfect and humble beginnings for all of us.
Okay, wait. For reference, in Hawaii, there's cockroaches everywhere. It's not just her house. Like everywhere, because it's just a tropical land. It's tropical island, I mean.
And here we are in the living room with lawn chairs. And we said we're going to just take half because we wanted to be cautious.
We were concerned, yeah.
Wait, once we were there, it was just chill and the vibes were good. And yeah, let's just do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And how was your experience?
For me, I felt like it enhanced my emotions that I already had. But I was able to get out of the... So what LSD does, it blocks your prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making part of your brain. So it shuts down your ego. So I was able to be in my higher self. I was able to look at myself from a third-person perspective. And I was able to see Violeta and from an objective point of view in a way. And for me, it changed and it helped me heal a lot of my traumas. A lot of my traumas from my past, how I saw myself, what I said to myself, just negative thought loops. And you taught me a lot too. And I think everybody collectively, we were there as a positive influence to each other. So we were all helping each other.
It was a really great group.
It was a very clean slumber party.
It was a PG
slumber party. Because you were the only guy and it was all those girls. And they hated men. So the fact that they let you in was just very endearing and I appreciate them. Because I didn't want to do it alone. And I hardly knew them. But now that I look back at it, I'm so glad that we took that jump. But we had been just making those jumps in our life. Like,
on the other side of fear.
On the other side of fear. Yeah, exactly. Are the things that God places for you. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, and the amount of moments that we had together that were priceless, heavenly moments of connection. For a man, this was huge because in a relationship, one can go only as far as deep as they've gone within themselves.
For sure.
With somebody else. And the lights came on.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen you cry since I've met you. So 4 years, I'd never seen you cry. So why did you cry that day?
Like most men, for me personally, I had emotionally unavailable parents. And I grew up suppressing emotions. I grew up numbing out and I didn't even know. I had no idea what was going to happen when I took the tab. And thank God I did, because the lights came on of consciousness. The dam broke of emotions and it started flooding out of me and it felt so good to feel. And I wanted to really cultivate those range of emotions. And it did wonders for our relationship. I finally started the journey of empathetic listening. And listening in general. That's a big one.
It's a big one for me because I think I'm above average listener, so it was starting to become more important for you to listen, because active listening is a skill.
And I think what it actually started doing is started to introduce positive feminine development in me. Being with you, isolated from my brothers and my male friends, I essentially was just around you and then Vanessa for a few years.
Oh, that is so true.
So I really developed my feminine side. And it was very healing because I was Mr. Corporate Network Marketing, climbing the ladder 24/7. I killed all my hobbies.
True.
I had no fun. I made business fun, and I didn't know how to slow down and smell the roses, and it really helped me do that. And that is such a big thing. And so we had multiple trips throughout the lockdown. We were in nature, and we were really doing the beginnings of our foundational work, healing our nervous system, building a foundation together. And then we came to a certain point where the beach was no longer calling your name and your purpose was.
No, I think that it was calling my name. The reality was we weren't making money.
Remember?
Remember?
So you wanted to go to school?
No, but I mean, reality was that I hadn't finished school. You did. I was called to finish school, but we also were making money. Remember?
We were beach bumming it, and I was a server. She was working Victoria's Secret.
We were relying on our savings, and something called me to go back to Texas, and things opened up a lot faster, and I wanted to finish my degree just because I loved going to school. And then, yeah, from there, we've just been figuring it out since then, huh?
Figuring life ourselves.
But honestly, what I realize now, talking to Vanessa, you're always figuring something out. Like, no one really has life down. We all end up dying, so it's I feel like for somebody that was very outward inward, I finally can define my own life and like success. And so I'm glad that we were able to have that time to look within. And then yes, Texas State finishing school did call. I guess like I don't know if it was a purpose though. It was just something I wanted to do.
I think it was very purposeful. And I guess we were traveling because of me, and so...
That was absolutely right. Yeah, I was definitely traveling because of you. But deep down, I feel like I wanted to do it too. But yeah, I was following you more than I was listening to my own ambitions.
And in a relationship, co-creating is very important, so...
Oh, yeah. You don't want me to say the word? Matriarchy? I'm just kidding.
Matriarchy, malarkey, mandarkey. But it was very important to do what you wanted to do, and that I would support you.
Oh, that's right. That's where we got to that point where I felt like I had been supporting you for years, and that was about me. Okay, I hear you. That's what you're getting at. Yes.
And now it's about we. Even though
I think
it's definitely about both of us equally. Like, you've taken time this year to really know yourself and heal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing the same too, investing in Preston's group, in the Rising Man, and it's been so invaluable for me. But psychedelics, closing thoughts. Obviously, it was great. Integration is huge.
Yes.
Every single time after we tripped, you have the blast, and the set and setting is huge. Violet said, highly recommend to just only do it with yourself or one other really loving, trusted person. Or like, you have to know the group, because the more people you introduce, the more you can freak out.
I agree.
So then afterwards, having an intellectually developed person or someone who's emotionally developed too, that won't project or get insecure or get anxious of your shares is huge, because the integration is a clean slate. I love what Michael Pollan said. Over time, every year, you get set in your ways. And imagine a skier going down the slopes of a mountain. After a while, the path becomes set and you get set in your ways. A powerful trip is like fresh powder. It's like you're a baby again.
Fresh powder of snow.
Fresh powder of snow. It's like you're a baby again, and you get to, or a kid, and you get to relive and rewrite a new story. And so that's why you have to put good things in, because when you're putting yourself back together, you're going to use philosophy. You might use religion. You might use Ansandula teachings. You might use the truth that produces good results, because there's a lot of advice out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of charlatans.
I don't know what that is.
There's a lot of posers. There's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. You want to look at the fruit that they bear.
Yeah. Never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade lives with. I agree.
And you...
Closing thoughts on psychedelics is that if you're called to do it, make sure you do your research. But I mean, read Michael Pollan's book, James Fredman, Psychedelics Explorer Guide to, what is it? Book.
James Fadiman.
James Fadiman, Psychedelic Explorer
Guide. Those are the right books to read.
Those two, I would say, start with those two. And listen to your heart and don't listen to other people's experience, because people don't do psychedelics in the right way. They are not party drugs.
Most people find them through parties though, right?
I know, yeah. So once you find it through parties, then seek somebody you trust, like you said, that wouldn't project on you. So, and then that you can integrate, like get a psychotherapist that you can integrate with, because it's not just about popping the pill or popping the LSD or the mushroom. It's also about changing or taking the lessons that you learn and then applying it to your everyday life and changing. And I think that's challenging for people. So, but if you're called to do it, do it.
Here's another big, huge thing for me. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I was constantly eating fast food and had so many negative habits. And
now he likes to spend $250 on spring water.
Love it. Yes. And
I don't know why I'm salty about that one. I'm sorry. I can't seem to let it go.
Well, taking action might be expensive water, and it also might be not eating Wingstop. Might be not eating Taco Bell.
Oh my God, I've been wanting wing daddies.
In balance and moderation, of course. I still like me some wings too. I still love me some French fries.
Love me some
pizza.
wings.
Love me some burgers.
This guy eats his junk food, okay?
But how balanced is it now? Like, what should the ratio? Should is not a good thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Don't shit on yourself.
Your nutrition and your health is a personal thing for you, but taking action, there's the urge is like, normally I do this, but instead I'm going to do this. It's choosing the higher self. It's choosing the high road.
Absolutely.
It's like before I used to avoid uncomfortable conversations. I used to, my anxiety and attachment was like, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm afraid. I don't want to bring that up. I'm afraid of causing confrontation. And
wow,
I have been leaning into that now. Taking action. It's like a muscle. The more you take action on the things that you know you should, the stronger you get. And that's part of integration too.
Yes, absolutely.
So, where you're at with your psychedelic journey?
So I had a big trip in November. I did MDMA for the first time with you.
How was that?
Oh, it's one of the better ones.
Yes.
It's all the feel goods. It's just we were supposed to only take half, and this guy doesn't tell me that the lady said just take half, and he gives me a whole one. And so my mind was blown. It felt like I was in Alice in Wonderland, and it felt like I opened the door and I was walking around and just experiencing colors, animals, the ocean. I feel like I'm very grateful that my first time was on the beach. I have a very deep spiritual connection with the ocean. For me, she's like a mother, and I don't know, I'm gonna cry. I think just like remembering, like it was beautiful, and encountering the ocean, which had like eyes. Like I met her for the first time again. And I'm just thinking of Zoe and when we played together in Carolina Beach, it was like when the waves would splash on us, Zoe would say, "Is the ocean tickling us?" And when it would smack the shit out of her face because the wave was strong. She was like, the ocean just high-fived me, and it was just cute. So it felt like that. Like, I really appreciate that I was able to do with you. And on the ocean, we're in Puerto Rico. I realize I'm very privileged to one, do the psychedelic, and two, do it in Puerto Rico. So that was my bigger trip, and
That opened up a whole can of worms, didn't it?
oh my God, yeah, I'm still integrating from that. So I was listening to this podcast that you sent me. What are the names? I will get better at names. Dr. Cohen and the lady, but they were saying whenever you do psychedelics, don't rush the integration. We live in a fast-paced capitalist world where it's like, oh, let me take the psychedelic and oh, let me just move on. Let me get all of the lessons and just move on and just quickly. I think that since that trip, I've been integrating everything that we've learned together as a couple, and it's been a journey. I feel like, again, they are not party drugs. You can use them in parties, but I think God or creation created these so that we can have self-reflection and evolve and love. So I haven't taken any since then. I just microdose on shrooms. The dosage is 150 milligrams, 3 days straight. And so
Why microdose? What is microdosing?
I know, that's another conversation. Ay, me estoy cansando. I know, baby. But, okay, so but that was my last big trip. I take my time with psychedelics, so well, in between sessions, because before that my biggest dose was DMT in January 2023. So there's a theme here for me. In January of every year I've had a crisis. So next year, January 2025, I'm taking January off. I'm just gonna relax and reflect and not have a crisis. But so where I'm at with psychedelics is I do them, and I do them sparingly. I take my time in between each big dose, which is a big dose is like 4 grams of shrooms, 1 type of LSD. I did a big hit of DMT. So microdosing is only 150 milligrams. And what that is just a really small part of the mushroom. So micro part of the mushroom. It's crushed up into a pill. I take it for 3 days each day. And for me, it helps me reconnect with myself, be in the present moment, hyper focused. And there isn't side effects like there is with Adderall and different Western medicine. Not sure what they are, but
again,
that's me.
Do your research. Anytime you're taking any medicine,
Yeah.
learn about it. There's natural ways. And some people say psychedelics are like 1,000 therapy sessions in one.
Oh, right. That's why I feel like I take my time in between them. And I do go to therapy twice a month. I think that this podcast is definitely showing my more vulnerable side, because I do put up a front. I mean, who doesn't on social media? The good. But me crying.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. But I feel like, psychedelics. Oh, I'm sorry, interrupting you, but it helps me integrate my shadow self, all the dark parts of me.
Ooh,
and feeling I think it's Carl Jung talks about it. Yeah. He is saying that it's like your subconscious, like the dark parts of you. Ansel Dua talks about it too, just saying that it's parts that are quote unquote bad. For me, it's manipulating, narcissism, selfishness, liar. Those are my words. It's like, I think that's what my shadow is. What else? I think that's my darkness. Yeah. So it's integrating it, accepting it for what it is, and saying I am those things, and I work on myself to not be those things.
And shadow is huge.
Everybody
has one. It's essentially the things that just don't get the light, the things that you've repressed, tucked away.
Oh yeah,
resisted, and whatever you resist persists. So Dante, one of the previous guests, had a wonderful saying that works on making room in his heart for those things.
I like his take on that. I've definitely been wanting to listen to it because I like the fact that you seek it and you love it just as much as you love the good in you. I think that has been my journey, but psychedelics has helped me integrate that and accept it and not be judgmental, like hold judgment towards it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I'm learning more about too, which is nothing I can actually describe, but what would you say your closing message is for your first podcasting?
I know, so exciting. So I feel like for me,
for people who don't know, we're going to Dallas next week. Catch her on social media for that. We're going to Bad Bunny the week after that. So we're going to have a lot of fun this summer.
We are, definitely.
And you're rocky up and coming with your knee, taking it slow right now, but a lot of party barges and boats coming up in the summer. And
I'm excited.
So life to live.
Yeah, of course. I think it's the best way to it is through it. Those are my closing remarks. And be patient with yourself in tough times. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys. I had fun, baby. I love you.
I love you too. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.
Bye.